Well, friends, we had a completely different episode planned for you today, but in a moment that feels very appropriate for a ministry that talks about lifting your gaze from chaos, our recording technology totally failed us. We realized, however, that this gives us an interesting opportunity to have a very different kind of conversation, one that we've wanted to have for a while. Because this month is actually Signpost Inn Ministry's 5th anniversary, our 5th birthday. That's right, we started in November of 2020. So today, Leave and I are going to sit down on the back porch. We're going to be a little honest about our journey. We're going to share where we started, some of the highs, some of the lows. We're going to share maybe what keeps us up at night, and then also what gets us up in the morning to keep pursuing this passion. So welcome to the Signpost Inn podcast. I'm your host, Brandon Booth, and I'm really glad you're here. This is the show where we explore what practical Christian faith looks like when we start with God's grace instead of our own performance. Now, normally I say we're going to cut through the BS and lift your gaze from the chaos of life and help you attend to Jesus as he is revealed in his word. But today, we're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to cut out the BS and we're going to share our story from the heart. So buckle up. This one could be a little bit of a doozy. It's probably going to be on the shorter side. We have a deadline to get to. This show is being recorded very much right before it comes out. And Leave and I are actually, as you're listening, we are flying to a Mockingbird conference in North Carolina. So we have got to get this done and out. Thank you for being with us. This is a special conversation. I don't have Matt with us, but I do have Leave. Leave, welcome to the back porch, or may I say welcome to your schoolroom in our house.
Thanks, Brandon. Let's do this. Boy, was that frustrating. We really liked our conversation that we had, but we do think this one needs to be had, and this is our no makeup first thing in the morning.
Yeah.
Putting off the start of homeschool and coming to you from my schoolroom here. So if you're on YouTube, that's what you see behind me. So.
Yeah, and I'm coming to you from the upstairs bedroom of my daughter who's at college, which is temporarily my office. This one's a little bit of a, I like that, no makeup. I never
Well,
wear
literally,
makeup,
I have no makeup on. Brandon never wears makeup, so yeah, there we go.
Oh, right. Yeah. Okay, so here we go. Listeners, really, we are very frustrated. The episode that we wanted to give you was amazing.
It was
so
good.
amazing.
Oh,
yeah.
Man.
And
Matt said some good things. Shout out to Matt. You were super articulate.
Brilliant.
Man. It's great.
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah. Had a great title. Maybe we'll be able to record it and give it to you later. It's still a great idea. The topic of the show is going to be the topic of the email that comes out next Tuesday, which actually, because of the time crunch, is the email that's going to come out after this show. So go sign up for our email to get the topic. And it's called, what is it? How to have a non-defensive Thanksgiving conversation with your crazy Uncle Carl. No real Carls
Uncle
intended.
Carl's intended. I have one. He's wonderful. Not intended toward you, Uncle Carl. Okay, go on.
But the episode is great. So we'll send you the email. That'll be great too. If you haven't got our email, go sign up for it now. All right, but this conversation today, so what we decided to do, and this is something I think we've kind of wanted to do for a while anyway, is tell you our story. Be a little more raw with our story. So I guess let's start. Let's take a little bit of a look back. We started Signpost Inn officially in November of 2020, which is 5 years ago. Maybe, I don't know, you said you have some notes, but what I'd like to hear is maybe thinking back over the journey. What are some of your memories? Maybe even start with, why did you start this, Leave?
Because we're married and that's what we were doing. No, that's not the only reason. We often tell people that this ministry started way before 2020. 2020 is when you finished all the incredible paperwork to make us a 501c3 and all that stuff, and you've done amazing at that. But we say that this is the work we've always been doing, you and I as a couple. You know, we knew when we got married that we wanted to be like broadly in the education, somewhere kind of thing. And you were involved in a ministry with youth for years and years. And And the thing is, we never did whatever, like the main job that was right in front of us. So you taught high school, I taught high school, and I started to have kids and then I was doing choirs and stuff. And in everything that we did, um, it was clear that like the main thing we were actually doing was listening, was saying, you matter, teenager or college staff member or college staff member growing up and reaching out years later. It was like hearing people's stories progress and being able to sit down and, I can cook some. And so we, having dinners, all that kind of stuff. So it was kind of a question of, obviously the whole world was changing in 2020. Our life, in a bunch of ways hit a massive brick wall. And I think Brandon felt this way too, but I felt like life was over. I felt like, we hit 2020 and it was like, oh, there is nothing left for any of us. And it wasn't just COVID. And I suddenly felt like one of those people that we always talk to. And I needed somebody to open a door for me. And I had that feeling of, that little spark kind of happened. It's not over. It's not over. And it's not just a question of changing seasons, although that's some of what was happening. We were moving on from doing work with teens and now we have our own teens. And so we're still doing work with teens, but that the ministry itself was now for people like me who put the BS aside, feel like it's over. So much ministry goes into young people. We're going to create young people. We're going to da da da. And maybe you grew up in that. And what we're really, we're here for anybody who needs a second to pause and have their attention turned to Jesus. But I think, I tend to think of that kind of older brother in the parable of the, prodigal son, where like, he's just tired. He's like, did it not happen? Did I miss it? Was it supposed to turn out more glorious, more triumphant? So we started looking at what gifts we have to speak to that person. Maybe they know Jesus already. Probably they do. But maybe they've got that like, but what now? What happens? What happens now? This, is it over? And then that idea of the inn, we've always had that kind of hospitality in personal presence kind of theme to our life. So, but yeah, you could probably pick up from there, Brandon, about what modalities we chose to, how we chose to meet people in that.
Yeah. I remember it being a hard time in life for everyone during COVID, but also in our particular circumstances. And there being a bit of life for us in it as we were taking long walks, talking about what we wanted to do next and what God wanted us to do. And yeah, it's funny, even as you say the word modality, it reminds me that we are very different people. You and I.
Yeah. Oh, really?
And
people who know us know that that's true.
Yeah. And I was in my own journey of encountering God in a new way, bringing my philosophy and theology and intellectualism into, I like to say it, putting my theological money where my mouth is. So not just talking about God being trustworthy, but actually trusting him with my heart and my body. And finding that there was rest for me, finding that there was an inn, metaphorically, for me in this world, which felt very hostile and still does. And I think you have always known that and always resonated that with that. I'm just speaking for you, but I think you've always resonated that with your body more than I have. And so there was a kind of like, yeah, there's so many ways in which there was a crossroads for us in our lives. There was a crossroads with us in our relationship, but it all kind of converged to, we wanted to cut out the BS. We wanted to be a relational space where people could meet real people who didn't BS them about life and could be a hospitable space relationally for them. And we'd always, like you said, we've always done that or wanted to do that in wherever we go. In a lot of ways I could say that more positively by saying it's just sharing the real gospel for people who are tired, lost, hurt, which, part of what I say, which cuts through the BS, is everybody is tired, lost, and hurt Anybody that's telling you otherwise is lying. You know what I mean? Like, sure, we have good days, but the world is a hard place. And the longer you live, the more unhomed you feel because the more hard stuff you run into. And I personally, the way I say it, but I know that you share this with me, Leave, I get really sick of the sales pitchy Christianity. Or even just anything in the world. Like when everything is everything is a life hack. Everything's a spiritual life hack, a relational life hack. And they all hold out the promise that if you buy this product or do this thing or learn this thing or have the right worldview, you'll be happy and you'll feel close to God and you'll feel at home in the world. And I think that was my big realization personally, that the ministry I had done prior to all of this, in all my capacities, I was sort of pitching it that way without meaning to, but I was sort of pitching it like, if you're in the right crowd, if you're in the right doctrinal stance, if you have the right views, if you know the Christian worldview rightly, if you read the right books, like my list of things of if you do the right or have the right or are part of the right was endless. You'll be at home. Your suffering and difficulties will disappear. And I never said that with any of my words, but I feel like I preached that, implied it. So anyway, we get to that crossroads in our own life, and I'm sort of having oh my goodness, that's not only not true, it's not possible, and it's not even God. It's not the way God works. There's a whole different way. So the inn then at the crossroads, Signpost Inn. I still joke to this day that I named things terribly. I am the worst at naming things. This is the funny part.
You always want to be too clever. That's the problem, right? We want to say something that's not quite what it is, then you'd be like, but actually it's not that.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny.
We have a joke around the office that it's like, Brandon names the email and everybody else goes, okay, now what are we really going to name it? Because nobody will know what it's about. But so I still to this day feel like we sort of named Signpost Inn incorrectly because number one, can you imagine how hard it is to understand what we're saying when you just hear it? Signpost Inn. I-N-N. I always have to say, oh my gosh. Plus, is it 3 words or 2? Everybody, it's 2 words. Signpost is 1 word. It's always been 1 word. It's never 2 words. It's signpost, 1 word, Signpost Inn, I-N-N. But anyway, it's the inn at the crossroads of life, which again, we are all at a crossroads. Let me rephrase that. This world, between the fall and the resurrection, is a crossroad. We are not home. The journey is not clear. Comfort and security is not guaranteed. In fact, we know that there is hardship and suffering to be had. And so we wanted to put an end right there in smack dab of life, open the doors, and say at least there's a moment of respite. Come on in, the doors are open, the lights are on, the fire's in the fireplace. It is an inn for weary travelers. We're not the church. We're not the hospital. I don't have the magic that finishes the journey for you. What I have is a comfortable chair and a good meal. And that's where you and I are different, right? That's where our strengths and weaknesses collide. You make good bread. You keep the fire burning. You make sure the chairs are comfortable. You make sure the door is open. You make sure that people have a sense that the space was ready for them, was thinking of them. And I can go around from table to table, serve some bread, and say, how are you doing? And if you look at me and go, I don't want to talk, I'm like, cool. If you look at me and say, I just need a listening ear, that's what I'm here for. And so we have this kind of beautiful mix, I think. And that's the vision in metaphor, which, gosh, we could talk about that for a little bit.
Yeah, we both live in metaphor on one level, which is handy. I will say, actually, the part about the inn, for me is not even, I don't know, I think it's almost a more powerful thing that it's an inn, which means it's on a road that's being traveled. In other words, there's purpose, there's direction, there's a reason, there's a journey that we're actually on, that God tells us about, that we are between the fall and the new creation. And in that time, we're going somewhere. So I think the biggest thing that we can offer, even though Jesus doesn't say, yes, you're always going to have comfort and peace and a full, physical and emotional knowledge of my presence. Sometimes he does that. That's great. But what he does offer that is a guarantee is life, hope, and a purpose. We are actually heading somewhere. And that's why it's an inn. It's not, it's not even like a retreat and then come back to your life. We do retreats, but all with that idea that we do have purpose. We do have a reason for being here. And for me, that feeling of it's all over, in 2020 was like, I thought I was being prepared for something. People always talk about being prepared for something, finding your calling, and then, okay, so at some point you're probably like doing your calling and then that's it. Like that's the rest of your life. You just burn bright like this bonfire for whatever you're supposed to be achieving in your life. And having this idea of the inn is just so helpful because we don't have to solve anybody's problems right now, but we're also not surprised when you're exhausted. Well, yeah, you're on the road. We're on the road too. I mean, that's the thing, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we made the commitment early on not to be critical of other ministries and things or the
Yeah.
church, and I think that's
Yeah.
still important.
Yeah.
However, I do want to, I think this is our raw episode, so I'm going to break the fourth wall or whatever it is a little bit. Yeah, that's not actually what I'm doing. I know, but dang it, metaphors. Why? Okay, anyway. But here's the thing. The inn for me, the inn metaphor is a paradigm breaker for what we think of in the Christian world. Like, okay, so I've been involved in several different kinds of ministry, and they all have some metaphor for what we're doing on the earth. You've heard it, right? The church is a hospital. In one of my previous ministries, we thought of ourselves as basically like a boot camp, a training ground. Like we were training Christians. And here's the thing. There's other metaphors I'm sure you've heard of. All of those metaphors, in some sense, sort of focus on the wrong thing. If the church is a hospital trying to heal you, well, we're not healed until the resurrection. If the ministry is a training ground for Christian soldiers or whatever, well, we're not going to win the war. And I don't think those are the scriptural metaphors. At least for me, the inn recognizes that that this world, it's in the name of our book. This world is not our home. We're not here to become healed, courageous, virtuous heroes,
And yet, a big part of the book too is that we're human and we live in a human physical world. And so incarnation is extremely important to us in our ministry and in our background belief. So we are uniting to the present, the physical present, in all the invitations that we offer. And I had this great image that I actually hadn't thought of until we were doing the emergency fill-in episode, but I was thinking about it. And, we sometimes talk about the work that Signpost Inn does or what happens in the inn as a moment, right? It's this moment of turning your attention. But oh my gosh, so poor St. Thomas, right? He always gets the bad rap after the resurrection. Everybody's in a room. They're all hiding, right? And Thomas is he's at that crossroads. He is the audience of Signpost Inn. He's me. I imagine he might be you. Not that we're like, oh, I reject it, but it's like, come on, guys. I've been so burned by this. I've been so hurt by this. I feel defeated. It's over. Come on, let's be real. We lost. It's done. And there's nowhere to go from here. And then Jesus says, This is John 20 if you want to look at it. But he says, reach out your hand, put it into my side. You don't have to doubt. You can believe. I'm changing up wording a little bit, but this is the feeling that Christ has toward him. That's our moment. Our moment is that we've been given the call from Christ to tell somebody individually where they are in the way they need to hear it at the right time. Reach out your hand, touch Christ. Take that second, raise that attention from what's hopeless to, and it's a wounded Christ. He doesn't put up his hand and here's the resurrected glorious. He puts up he says, okay, here's your wounding. I have my wounding. I've had other moments of strong impressions of this thought as well before, which is that we climb inside the wounds of Christ, and that's our job, is to be that moment. I think maybe spiritual direction does a lot of that, maybe expressly.
Well, okay, yeah, absolutely. First of all, my favorite joke about doubting Thomas, just moment of levity. I can just imagine Thomas, this is the joke, Thomas in heaven talking to the other disciples. And he's like, oh, come on. I ask one question and forever I'm remembered as doubting Thomas. Peter denies Jesus 3 times and nobody refers to him as, what is it? Oh, shoot.
Denying Peter.
Denying Peter. Anyway, here's a tension that I think I sometimes feel, but I think is really important that I lean into and that we lean into as a ministry. I have always been a bit melancholy as a person. I have always wanted to face the realities straight on. When something is bad, I want to say that's bad. And period. Like when something hurts, I want to say that hurts. Life ain't easy. Let's not joke. I was talking to a friend around a campfire last night, and he was asking me, what does it mean to know Jesus really? And I started by saying, do you know who Henry David Thoreau is? He's like, the vast majority of humans are living lives of quiet desperation, right? Knitting toilet cushions against the last day, which I think I said correctly. No,
yes.
I said it wrong.
You did. Sort of.
What is it
again? No more
metaphors.
Metaphors. Drop them.
Oh, I see. Well, anyway, but the point is, the reason I start there is to say, I'm tired of the BS. The reality is, life hurts. You're headed towards death. We need to face that and stop being distracted. Well, the tension I feel is that so often, the advice I used to get in my previous work was, don't do that. People need to hear a vision. They need to hear positivity. They need to hear that you're going somewhere. They need to hear that the mission is successful. That's what people support. And I'm like, you know what? Okay, fine. But that's lying. And then 2, there is hope when somebody looks you in the eye and says, let's stop playing games. Life is a crossroad. We live in the cruciform life. Jesus was born to die, and he knew it the whole time through. Same thing I said last night. I was like, the question of life is why, Lord? Why is it so hard? Why does it hurt? What are you doing? I was like, that's the question that Jesus asked his whole life. Do I really have to? Why? Okay. And here's what I'm going to say, and then I'm going to tell you the positive part, but it is positive.
Maybe I could do that part.
No, I'm going to tell it to you, but here's the thing. Right now, I know people listening to this, there are 2 kinds of people in the world. There are people who say, dude, that's dark. I don't understand what he's talking about. Let's be positive. Let's not look at that. Let's just get on with it. And here's what I do. I'm not going to blame anybody, but here's what I do. I pick up my phone and watch 6 hours of YouTube to not think about what I just said. Or I throw myself into my job and kill myself with work so that I don't have to think about reality or whatever. I mean, listeners, do you not resonate? Here's the things that we notice as a ministry. People are distracted. They're afraid. Their images of God are all out of whack. And so much of it is because we're trying to deny reality and live as if we can be happy, healthy, and wealthy in this life. And if I just found the right thing, I would be. And I just want to break through and be like, nope, stop playing games. The second kind of person listening to this right now is feeling a huge amount of comfort and compassion because they're like, yep, finally, somebody hears it. Somebody is saying what's true. And that's who I'm for, is the person who needs somebody to be honest. And now here's the hope. It's what you said. You're not alone. Christ lived this life already. And he died, and he rose again. He knows the pain. He also knows what's coming. And he's the only one that ever had to do it on his own. He's the only other one that ever had to journey without an inn, without a companion, without, even at the end, a God. My God, why have you forsaken me? Because he's the only one that could do it. So does life feel like God has forgotten you? Does life feel like it's headed towards death? Does life feel like there's no sense to it? Well, Jesus has done and felt all of that. Really, truly, not metaphorically. And that is why his heart says, you will never have to do that without help. I refuse to let my beloveds go through that. I know you have to go through it, but I will never let you go through it without help. My own help and other Christians' help. And that's where we sit. We sit in the help part. That's what drives me in the morning to get up and do this work.
That the next question people always ask, and I always ask, I think when I listen to a lot of people say things about Jesus and what he has done, sort of that vague sentence, and I ask, how? What way does that happen? Sure, tell me that doubting Thomas looked to Jesus and everything was fine, and Jesus says, blessed are those who have not seen and yet believe. And I go, well, great. But, I'm a physical being. I have a soul and a body, and I need to know this physically. If someone says, Jesus is all around you, I want to say, how?
Yeah.
And that's where we are.
Yeah. Somebody's letting my dog out to go for a walk.
Yep. Bye, Maple.
All right, there we go.
That was very subtle. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, and that's that incarnate grace part that we talk about. So
Yeah.
yes, we are not just invited to brain know some things about God or even to sort of heart feel some things about God.
Right.
We believe in
Right.
the promise of the physical resurrection. And it's been so heartbreaking throughout our ministry, especially with teenagers. Holy cow, these young sort of fundamentalist teenagers we used to work with who didn't know about the physical resurrection. They didn't know that we're actually raised from the dead, which, like, it's funny, you say it out loud and you're like, wow, wait, do we really believe that? And we do, and we stand for that. And so how do you encounter God now? How do you have that physical connection? Well, we believe in word and sacrament, and we believe in the physical connection through the church and through other Christians to the heart of Jesus in an actual real physical way. So for us, not just saying believe this, but let me sit with you. I'm not just going to say, I forgive you, we're good. We're going to sit down and have a physical encounter, over tea or whatever.
Yeah. The idea is that you get to drop your mask. We'll drop ours.
Yeah.
So that you can drop yours.
There you go.
And in that encounter, find out that that God has already done and is doing the same through us, through others, for you, with you. And it's like you get to cry, you get to laugh genuinely because those things are real in life, and you get to do them with God, and he's real. And I think that's what, again, I think that's what drives me. And the resurrection, we do find ourselves increasingly talking about it and increasingly trying to bring it to a to use the fancy terms, felt sense of reality, because it's a reality that grounds and gives hope and strength to go through the journey that we have to go through in this life. But again, it's also to go through it together is what I want for people. So let me just shift it a little bit here. How, Lee, what are some of the, in the effort to be honest, what are some of the struggles you've had or still have doing this work? And what are some of the things that you remember look forward to that keep you doing it.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. No, that's fair. So I know how much I resist everything. I know how much I resist. Gosh, yeah, no, I just resist. And so I'm afraid for people that they won't reach out, or they won't walk in the door of the inn, so to speak. And so I have been afraid from the beginning, like, this takes a lot of vulnerability to call somebody you don't know and say, Christianity feels like BS to me. I've heard all these Christianese words and I don't feel it. And am I even supposed to, am I allowed to? That's something it's interesting. I don't feel it. Am I allowed to? And so I'm afraid for our audience. I want people to have this, and it makes me afraid, and it's hard to trust the Lord that he'll bring into the doors of the inn who needs to come, and that we'll keep going. And that part's scary. Then I tell myself there's no there's no stability in any calling that you have on earth. But that's the part that scares me, because I know how much I resist. I'm afraid for the people who most need the welcome, that they will resist it. I mean, fair. I understand.
yeah. Yeah. I think the hardest part, and this is connected to that for me, is the tension between the need for this ministry to support our family and my stubborn. It's not stubborn. It's just I will not. I don't want to sell things. I don't want to sell Christianity as a placebo or as a cure. I think you said it this way the other day. It's hard to be married to a dreamer
Yes,
who
it
has to do
is.
it on his own.
But
And I
she
don't feel
always
like
gets she always gets some credit, though, when you talk about, like, some great artist's wife and how she was, like, juggling all the children and her hair's all in the air and everything, but she was supporting his, whatever. I don't know. In this
yeah.
case, it's both of our dream, but
Yeah, it
yeah, it's
is.
hard. It's hard.
It's hard because in a lot of ways we buck all the advice. And I guess we have to. I mean, if you want to make money in this world, the fastest and easiest way to do it is lie. You write a Bible study that promises people comfort. You create a curriculum that promises people perfectly healthy relationships. You never have to say that, but you imply it. And I guess I fear that, I fear doing that so much. And yet I feel the tension. How do we get people to engage what we're doing? And how do we support it? Like, how the heck do we pay for it? So we have generous donors who support us. They just give us money to do this work. We're trying to sell our events. The secret there, of course, is if people can't afford them, if you ask me, I'll give it to you because it's a ministry and I want you to have it. But we have just not cracked the nut on how to get outside of our circle for people to find out about us. And so all of that feels like such a tension because that feels like business to me. Here I am selling my things, and I hate that. But also I have to if you're going to eat, if my kids are, if I'm going to pay for his college, if I'm going to so I have to figure out how to make this financially feasible for us to do. But I hate that because I
Yeah,
don't want to
but
sell Christianity.
yeah, the fact is, though, you're struggling with what I think every good man struggles with, which is, uh, I'm afraid, is God going to provide? And that's a place where you meet a lot of people personally in spiritual
Yeah,
direction,
everybody's
or
in there. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean? So it's not, we know that our struggles are not, unique to us too, which puts us in a good position to be able to talk to people honestly without BS. We're not
Yeah.
like, yes, you could be perfectly
Yeah.
financially stable. We are.
Oh
Nope.
yeah, no. I like we've said so many times, the ministry that we do is to ourselves more than anyone else. You know
So
what I
true.
mean? Like,
So true.
yeah. So there's my fear, right? Okay, but although, by the way, do you want to know what every fear of everybody working in any ministry is? How will we be provided for financially? If you're in a ministry, that's your fear. So I am not alone, and nor are you, listener, if that is you. And am I doing the right thing? Is this really my calling? Like, those are the fears. Everybody has it. We all struggle with it. So, weirdly, for the last 4 to 5 days, I told you this yesterday, the psalm I've been using when I open sessions with spiritual directees is Psalm 123. And it's like it's funny. I'm like, okay, Lord, I get it. Here it is again. Okay, I get it. It's to you, Lord, I lift up my eyes, you who are enthroned in the heavens. Behold, as eyes of servants look to the hand of their master, as the eyes of a maidservant to the hand of her mistress, so our eyes look to the Lord our God till he has mercy on us. Yep. I mean, number one, that's what I have to do. That is the daily call for me, not just as a leading a ministry, but as a father, as a husband, as just a human. Where else does anything come from except for the hand of the Lord? And then two, what is our vision? To lift your gaze from the chaos of life to look at God, who is your provider, your sustainer, the one who is truly with you. So I am doing this ministry to myself every stinking day, and you're doing this ministry to yourself every stinking day. And that's good. I mean, it keeps us right there in the space of, I don't have the answer except for, hey, well, I'm with you. Let's do it together.
Yeah, I think what I want, like, if we do talk about, like, why this ministry and what are we learning ourselves, looking at that Thomas passage, I want to live in Thomas's response, that I can honestly look at Jesus and say, "My Lord and my God." I mean, my Lord and my God. I love that. You know?
Yep. Yep. I want to return to wrap
Yep.
this up to the how question, because I see in your eyes what I feel in my heart right now, which is the desire to live in my Lord and my God in a no BS way.
Yep.
And you're right. I think in some ways the question that we get asked that I beg to be able to answer is, well, how do I do that? And if that's you right now, I just want to say, look, I get you. I lived many, many years sort of just doing it all in my brain, thinking it was happening, and all the while living a life of quiet desperation. How do you do it? There is no single answer. There is. Let me start by telling you how you're not going to do it. You're not going to do it. You're not going to be able to rest your heart in God alone by reading another paragraph in a book, by listening to another sermon that leaves you with a challenge to change your life. You're not going to do it by another 5-step plan to holiness. You're not going to do it through finding the right small group that focuses on a particular virtue issue or sin issue. What you're going to need is help to discover what the defenses are, the resistances are, to letting God address your deepest needs, your deepest questions, through coming to know Jesus as he really is. And the way that happens is, I believe, through relationship with people who can help, with guides that are able to discern what those deep questions are, patiently and slowly, without platitudes and without agendas. In one way, that's what spiritual direction is. So I highly encourage you to try it. Whether that's with us or someone else, it doesn't matter. I hesitate to go this far, but I've done both spiritual direction and therapy. They're both good. Spiritual direction is on another level. It's something very different because it brings you into touch with God through another human being in an incarnational, direct way. And it's not about fixing your mind. It's about living in this journey with another human being who is attending to you and to God with you, helping you actually bring your stuff to God and come in contact with him. That's one way to do it. So the how question gets answered over time. I don't have a simple, let me give you the 4-step way to how to really rest your heart in God. It doesn't work that way. It takes time. It takes growth. The second answer I have for you is, this is what we're doing we're starting that process. We have a workshop called Learning to Trust God. I know this is going to kind of sound like a pitch. Maybe that's just my voice being stupid against me. I don't know. But the truth is, that is why we started it. It's the workshop, Learning to Trust God. We have one every month. I promise you, it's not another agendaed plan. Here's 5 steps to learning to trust God. What it actually is sharing my real story with you so you can practice a kind of change in way of relating to God. It introduces you to the idea of there's much more depth here in how to do this. Our intensive, which again, I know this is kind of a pitch, but here's the reality. The intensive is made, it's an online thing, right? You come and you meet over Zoom. The intensive is about really first self-knowledge. What are my resistances and defenses? Why am I struggling? Why am I looking for God in everywhere and distracting myself from everything except for where he can be found? Then let's actually meet him through each other, through his word, through Jesus. And then let's learn how to make that a reality kind of throughout my life on a day-to-day basis. So we can't answer the how question. I just can't answer it in one podcast. I think that's what I want to say. Okay, so that's the turn. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think I don't think anybody feels fully qualified for what they do, but I am encouraged because of the specific path that we've been led on to get to this point, is that you did go to seminary. You do have a master's in historical theology. We taught in classical schools. You learned all this apologetic stuff elsewhere. We've been in the brainy world a lot. We know about what possible theologies are out there, and we're confessional Lutherans. Like that, we have all of this great background that we've come from. But the fact is, what matters is climbing inside the wounds of Christ, being led to Jesus, like Thomas, and then just continually turning back in that direction and recognizing, yeah, we're not home yet, but we're here for each other. And that is way more important than any of the knowledge or facts or being in the right crowd, which we have been in. And now I feel a little ostracized from. It's a little scary to be out here, but we're out here for you. We're out here at the crossroads in the inn for you.
Yeah. And I would say it's not an either or. It's not an either or between hardcore theology, serious biblical knowledge and truth, and grounding in the historical, traditional, solid Christianity.
Yeah.
It's not an either or. It's a bringing what that theology is saying to your subjective, but your real experience. It's not a system. God is not another system that you can select from on the menu of life, of life paths. He's a real person, and the hardcore truths about God revealed in Scripture that the historical Christian church has held fast to for millennia, that we hold fast to, we hold to them because they bring you the person of Jesus directly. They bring you the compassion of a God who says, I've been there, I love you, and you will never journey alone. That's why we hold to them. So, all right, we got to wrap this episode up. My friends, thank you for listening. I do want to tell you, we are right now for our 5th anniversary, our 5th birthday. We have 2 generous donors who have pledged $12,500 in matching funds. So every dollar you give between now and December 31st, 2025 gets doubled. $50 donation becomes $100, $250 becomes $500. We are, like all ministries, we are at the end of our financial year, which is it's a tight crunch for all ministries. We're needing to finish out our year strong. We need to be able to stay committed to all of our financial commitments, which is primarily supporting the Booth family in their, this is my job. This is our only thing we do. And as well as all the other stuff, we also have hired a new community and communications coordinator, Ashley Berge, soon to be Ashley Angier. We're so excited about that. You'll probably be hearing from her. But we need your help. We need you to support us throughout the end of this year, but also into the next year. We want to be around for another 5 years. I want to be around for another 10, 15, 20 years. We need you to help us. If you can join by becoming a regular supporter, donating monthly, this is the greatest thing and most helpful thing you can do for us. We've actually lost a number of donors this year due to financial struggles, family issues, lots of things. So just being raw and honest with you, this year's hard. And if you have the ability to give $25 a month, $50 a month, $200 a month, if that's within your means, please consider helping us do this. Starting today, everything you give between now and December 31st is doubled. Next, we desperately need your help spreading the news about what we do. This is so hard to articulate and get outside of our circle. We are talking to people who are desperately wanting easy answers. They want us to give them the pill that fixes their problems, the book that solves all their issues. And we need to find the people who are tired of that and encourage them that what we have is different and trustworthy. So I'm begging you, if you are listening to this podcast and you've never shared this with somebody else, please do. Please encourage someone else to listen to the show, to come to one of our retreats. Please, we need you to spread the word. You know the people. You know people who are tired. Can you be brave on our behalf and go say to somebody, gosh, look, life is hard. I can see you get it. Can I introduce you to a workshop? Would you try this podcast? Would you come and maybe just go ahead and try spiritual direction? If you've never tried it, come try it with me. It's free for the first one, right? And it's honestly, if you ask me, it's free all the time because it's a ministry. So send people to us that need what we're doing. We can't get out there. You are the ones that can do it for us. So I'm a heartfelt plea. Please tell people what we have. And then finally, pray for us. We just ask you to pray for us. And I'm going to ask a special thing, which is I know a few of you regular listeners have been so kind. You do respond when we ask for emails or texts. The number on our website, the phone number on our website is just my phone number, so text it. Please send us an encouragement. When you think of us, when you're praying for us, it would be so encouraging. Shoot me a text, send an email, I'll share it with the team. It just helps us know that what we're doing is worth it. And we would really appreciate that. So thank you. All right. This show has now been longer than we planned. I'm hoping our podcast editor, Leif, my son, can get this out in time, and you will be able to hear it. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. We pray for you daily, and we appreciate you. May the grace of Christ go with you wherever the road takes you.
Amen.
Thanks for listening. This podcast is a production of Signpost Inn Ministries, nonprofit Christian ministry dedicated to strengthening people's relationship with Jesus and walking with them compassionately on their life's journey. We offer spiritual direction, retreats, and lots of other resources like this podcast. Please visit us at signpostinn.org to learn more. We especially want to thank our generous donors who support our work and keep this podcast going. If you've benefited from something you've heard, please consider supporting us by making a tax-deductible gift at signpostinn.org/donate. We also want to thank Rex Daughtry for creating the original theme music for this podcast. You can check out more of his work at his website, and you can find all the links in our show notes.